Hello. This is Linda Binns. Welcome. I'm back for part two. My conversation with Breanna Michelle was so inspiring last week that we had technology issues halfway through. So it cut us off as we were having a nice discussion. And so we come back this week to continue that discussion. So just to recap quickly, Breanna is a mindset coach, and she specializes, what we talked about last week was NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, hypnotherapy. We talked about that. We talked about EFT, emotional freedom technique, and we were right in the middle of talking about timeline therapy, which is something I don't really know anything about. And so let's take it from there, Bree. Hi,
Yeah,
and welcome back.
thank you for having me back. So the timeline techniques therapy is interesting because it allows you to kind of travel up like over your body essentially and choose where your timeline is. Most people will say their future is like ahead of them, their past is behind them, and they have the option to again travel up and float back to whenever something happened in their past. So usually it's for some kind of traumatic experience or something they've experienced that has led to them having a block today. And what it does is it allows them to kind of go back, re-look at things from a new perspective, and they're either going to be above themselves or sometimes they'll go back like into their body and actually see that experience again and kind of point out things that maybe they hadn't noticed in the past and rewrite it. And then we'll go into the future and look at how they would do in a similar experience or something else that they want to happen in their life that that block had been preventing them from doing. So it's an interesting kind of technique, but it does help people to just kind of go back and, like I said, relive and kind of like reshape their experience and get a different perspective and kind of overcome whatever had happened and move into the future, and they're able to do whatever it is that they had wanted but just kind of were held back for whatever reason.
Wow, that sounds really interesting. Now, I'm curious to know, do you use all of these techniques with somebody, or how do you determine what somebody needs, what's going to be the most beneficial for them at any given moment when they come to you?
Yeah, of course. So for me, these are just modalities and techniques that I have learned and studied and become certified in. I'm currently in another program and I'm doing weekly stuff with them and just kind of always learning and evolving and growing. That's my kind of motto. I'm always doing that stuff for myself. So when I'm working with someone, I'll use a combination of things. Sometimes we don't need to use any special modalities. Sometimes it's just having a conversation and getting them to see things from a different perspective or to uncover blocks that maybe they weren't aware of at the time. So it's not always using every single one. I feel like that would be just so much on me and them.
Hmm.
But yeah, just a combination. Usually, whatever feels right and whatever I think that would help them at that time and whatever it is that they're going through or want to overcome.
And is there a particular type of person you work with? Is it generally entrepreneurs? Do you help people with career, or is there a particular specialty that you have in that?
Yeah, so my only specialty is millennial women. When I
Okay.
first started, I thought, okay, female entrepreneurs, but I've kind of really tailored it down to millennial women now because more specifically, I've just noticed that it's always about the career or other people, and it's less and less about us. And I'm myself a millennial, so I feel like I can really understand and relate a lot at the times to people. So it's just helping them to realize, like, hey, the career, the partner, friends, whatever else is important. But if you don't focus on yourself, none of that stuff really matters at the end. So
Right.
helping them to kind of refocus. So yeah, millennial women.
Well, I love that you've really honed in on that group, and so that could be entrepreneurial millennial women or women in a career.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. And is there a particular? Then this is a very general question, but is there a particular recurring type of challenge that you see people coming to you with? Is there one that's more common than something else? I just was curious about that.
Yeah. So a lot of people, they have this fear because they're worried about what their coworkers are going to say if, maybe they're not doing the same things the coworkers are doing. Maybe they're not always focused on just like work stuff or career related stuff. And they kind of take, not to say like a huge step back, but they just begin to prioritize maybe their health and their well-being and their happiness a little bit more so instead of always focused on work and answering maybe the emails and things like that. So it's a lot of fear around that because they just assume, oh, I need to wake up and check my emails. I need to get back to my boss immediately after they text or call or email or whatever. And really helping them to realize, like, hey, it's okay. Like, we're all human, we all need to take care of ourselves, and you don't have to do what everybody else might be doing in the workplace, or people are maybe putting out that we should do in the workplace or in the career or just as a society. You can actually take a step back and breathe and pause and reassess the situation and move forward with an understanding of, okay, what's going to make me feel my best, what's going to help me to get this job done, get the project done, whatever it is, and still feel good at the end of the day, still feel like I am filling my cup and feeling nourished and supported essentially. So
Mm.
it's that fear initially, because a lot of times it hasn't been modeled to us. And if we think about the workplace, there's a lot of that like kind of hustle culture, work culture, wake up at like 5 a.m. and just keep grinding all day. And it's like, yeah, that might work for some people, but not for everyone. And allowing people to realize, like, hey, if that doesn't work for you, it's okay. Don't feel like you have to hide or conceal your needs or desires. You can fully be you and still have this great career, but then also be putting yourself and your needs first.
Right. And I think what you said is so true, that there's been this expectation. And I think, people of my generation have always been, oh, you have to work, and
Yeah.
putting the whole concept, because I had this myself, and there's a lot of the people that I work with, women especially, who have grown up with that idea. You always put everybody else first. Your job, you've got to juggle it all, you've got to manage it all, and you come right down at the bottom of the list, if you're on the list at all.
Yeah.
And so I love that. I think there is a shift energetically, and I think the millennials are creating that shift of, wait a minute, just because that's the way it's always been done, that does not mean that that's the best way to do it. And look at all the struggles you've had and what you're dealing with now as a result of that. No,
Yeah.
we're going to start putting ourselves first, and then we show up in a way that's healthier and more productive anyway. So it's a completely different way of being, really, of
Yeah.
living your life.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. And I
yeah.
always tell everyone it's kind of similar to the thing that we hear on planes. You're on the airplane, they're telling you if something were to happen, you need to put your own mask on first and then help others. Even if the other person is your child, your partner, your husband, loved one, whoever, you need to put the mask on yourself first. And
Yeah.
I always like to take things back to that because I think that that is so important. And like you
Mm,
said, we've been taught to always put everybody else ahead of ourselves. And then you're left feeling depleted and drained because you are prioritizing everyone else.
mm,
And I get a lot of backlash about, maybe it being a bit selfish or, maybe conceited or cocky, whatever the term might be. But a lot of people think, like, oh, no, I don't know if that's the right way to approach things, if that is something you should be doing in life. And I'm just like, I think you should put yourself first, because when I put myself first and I feel really good and, happy, healthy, supported, all of that, I can help people a lot more. I can do things to the best of my ability opposed to being drained and burnt out and trying to still show up, but still feeling depleted and maybe a little resentful because I have not poured into myself and done what I know I need to do to feel content and happy and fulfilled.
well, yeah, and it really is the opposite of selfish, because if you put everybody else first and you pull yourself in, allow yourself to be pulled in so many directions that there's nothing left for you, and you're having to show up depleted, then that depleted energy is what you're putting into everything you do. That's how you're showing up with your family. That's how you're showing up with your friends. That's how you're showing up at work. There's just nothing left, and you're kind of running on fumes.
Yeah.
But if you do take care of yourself first, whatever that means for you,
Mhm.
then you're showing up, like you said, with vitality, with joy. And that's the energy you bring to your family. That's the energy you bring to everything that you do.
Yeah.
And so how is that selfish? It's just there's this sense of guilt, that I know many people feel, women
Mhm.
particularly,
Yes.
when they take any time for themselves.
Yeah.
And it needs to change. Absolutely needs to change.
Definitely. I completely agree. They wonder like, "Oh, well, what's my family gonna say? What are my coworkers gonna say? What's, the neighbor, my friends?" But it's just like if you don't take care of yourself, like, you're not able to fully help them and show up. So, yeah, it needs to change.
It
Definitely.
really does. And it's interesting. I want to share two quick examples. I used to do a few years ago, I used to do take groups onto a cruise, and we would do workshops on the cruise, and we'd be away for about a week. And there are two in particular people that I'm thinking of. Excuse me. One was a woman who really wanted to come on the cruise, but she felt guilty about it because she didn't think she could take the time off because her husband was working so hard, and she wasn't making as much money as him, and there was all this story about how it wouldn't be fair to him, and all of this, and that this is what we were talking about. And I said, well, have you spoken to him about it? And she said, well, no. I said, well, so this is all something, as it's like a story that is in
Yep.
your mind, so talk to
Mhm.
him about it. And so she talked to him about it, and he said, oh no, don't put that on me. I want you to go. I want you, you're gonna, if that's gonna help you feel happy, and you're gonna get something out of it, I want you to go.
Yeah.
So that was number one. And then the other one was a woman who actually came on the cruise. And as we were maybe 2 days out, she suddenly started to feel very panicky
Mm.
about, my family need me. I can't possibly be away from my family this long. They won't be able to cope without me. And
Yeah.
she had teenage children. Her husband was at home. And I said to her, look, and she was even talking about, at the next port, maybe I can get off and I can take a flight back. She was
Yeah.
in such a state of panic about it.
Yeah.
And I said, look, when we get into the next port, why don't you just, make a phone call? You can use a phone call, whatever. You can contact them, just see how they are. They were fine. They were absolutely fine. She was able to relax then, and she stayed on the cruise. But it just shows that depth of, insecurity or guilt that we feel about doing
Yeah.
something for ourselves.
Yeah, exactly, and I love the story about the lady with the teenagers. So, this is kind of where all this stuff started because I realized years ago that people, women in particular, would have children, and every time something would come up, "Oh, well, like, I have children, I can't do this. Oh, I could never. I would love to, but, my child needs this, or I need to do that." And I just started to see that occur over and over and over again, and I thought, "Oh, I don't wanna be like this," because what happens the day that that child moves out, or goes to college? That poor woman, because most of the time it's the mother that feels this way and not the father, is left feeling like, "Oh, no, like, I don't know who I am anymore. I have
Mhm.
no purpose. What should I do with myself?" And I didn't wanna find myself in a situation like that. Now, I don't have children yet, but I just realized that when I do, I want to show them like, okay, I have my own life. I have things that I enjoy. I'm still here for you. I'm still like your mother. I'm still, the father's wife, all of that. But I still have my own identity. And I'm
Mhm.
not getting completely wrapped up in my husband or my children. And when they're out of the picture, gone to work, gone to school, whatever, I'm feeling lost. Like, oh, well, I don't know what to do. I'm sitting, panicking, waiting for them to come home or something like that. And
Mhm.
I see it over and over again. And I feel so sad for women because their life is not just their husband, it's not just their children. And I seen a show on Netflix recently, and a lady who had, I believe, 7 children, her husband died suddenly, I think from like a heart attack or bee sting or something like that. But she felt so like depleted. She even mentioned to her eldest son that he was her world. He was like her air and she couldn't breathe. And I'm like, that's beautiful. However, you have all these children that you have to take care of. You have yourself that you still need to take care of. And with that kind of mentality, it's not, constructive to us continuing on in life if something like that were to happen. We don't want to think about that stuff, but that is a major possibility that you might lose a loved one or something, and you want to feel like you can keep going on. And I'm pretty sure the loved one would have wanted them to continue with their life and be happy and fulfilled. So it's so many things that kind of like overlap when it comes to people not putting themselves first and being happy with themselves and then kind of branching out and helping their family or friends or even their employees or coworkers and all of that. So it's just all of this stuff kind of it's full circle. It always comes back to us and how we feel and how we are showing up. And then also we're modeling this stuff for our children as well. So I'm pretty sure for teenagers thought like, oh, okay, mom deserves to go out for a week and take a break and do something for herself. They probably understood that she's gone and they didn't want to, call her, email her, whatever, and bug her the entire time she was away. But
Mm.
it's crazy to think that people are so like, oh, my family needs me, and family's not even thinking about her.
Right. Well, and it's not, we project this. It's like the first woman whose husband said, don't make this about me.
Mhm.
She was really projecting that onto him and making it
Yeah,
about him, and it wouldn't be fair to him. And he's saying,
yeah,
I want you to go, don't make it about me. But that's what
yeah,
we tend to do, because we have this sense of guilt, or that, we shouldn't do something for ourselves. But you're so right in that, your children learn from you, from your behavior, from what you are modeling to them. And so if you want happy, healthy children, then you have to be the happiest, healthiest version of yourself that you can be. And that means taking care of yourself.
yes.
So yes, it's very important. So I really love that's what you're doing, because that is the energy shift that I see. And it's the energy shift that really needs to happen,
Oh, yeah,
particularly for women.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, so I'm so happy that you're doing that. So, is there anything in particular you're working on right now, any new projects, or are you just, happy sort of getting coaching clients right now? Is there anything new you have coming?
Yeah, so nothing really new. I have been attempting to do more in-person events now that places are opening up and, people are more comfortable leaving their houses. So just more in-person stuff, but at the moment, just still taking on people one-on-ones for the moment.
Mhm,
Maybe gonna do like a group project or group program, some kind of cohort in the future, but
mhm.
nothing like set in stone as of now.
Okay. And if people want to find out more about you or get in touch with you, how can they do that?
So my website is breemichelle.com, or just email me at brie@breemichelle.com. I have Instagram, breemichelleXO. So any of those work for
Okay.
me.
Okay. Well, I encourage everyone, if you are a millennial woman, go and check out Bree's website and arrange to have a conversation with her, because we all need to be the happiest, healthiest versions of ourselves that we can be. And I love the work that you're doing. So keep
Thank
up with
you.
that. Thank you,
Yeah.
Bree.
Well,
I'm
thanks
glad
for
we were able to
having me.
finish our conversation
I
in
know, I know.
time. Yeah, you never know. Technology, you just never know. Anyway, I'm glad it all worked today. So
Yes,
thanks, Bree. All right,
me
take care.
too.
Bye.
Bye.